Hello. And welcome to a, look at the boats. A new today's edition of me reading a book I wrote when I was just a boy in 2015. Let's see if I can find it. It's my favorite part. Um, Google Documents. Um, no. Matt's paper? Oh no, that was a paper in school. Oh, oh, here it is. Thanks, Google. So we last picked up. Oh man, I was so mean to Bumblebutt. I liked him. He was a good guy. Did I do this part yet? No, I think I only did one day. So I think we're here. All right. January. Oh, hold on. This chapter is sponsored by Pringles football in March because the Dollar General gets these. I'm really thankful for those though. My grandpa eats these all the time, or used to. That's why I got the idea. Anyways, January 13, 2015. Public policy class. Before I went to my class at 2, I went and modeled for a hairstylist at a salon on the other side of town. I remember when I used to have hair. Most stylists rely on clippers or guards to cut hair. Doing so makes me feel like they're simply mowing the lawn on top of my head. But today, because the girl was being watched by her boss, she used her scissors for the entire haircut. She chipped away as a sculptor would, just crafting her masterpiece. Was it was it Michelangelo who chiseled the statue of David? Who knows? Either way, I felt like $1,000,000 heading into my public policy class. I did. Thanks, Kate. Of course. This doesn't taste right. This doesn't taste right at all. Yeah, that doesn't taste right. I was a few minutes late. I missed the syllabus. Damn it. The professor's name was Corduroy. Not sure if he was a doctor or not. Finally, a professor under the age of 70. He appeared to be in his early 50s and in much better shape than Bumblebutt. Oh, God, why was I still ripping on Bumblebutt? Corduroy was bald as a polished bowling ball on the very crest of his scalp. I'm in the club now, bro. He kept the solar ring around the sides. I do not do that. The man spoke quickly, as though he were in a hurry. At this point, I was 4 for 4 on having professors who were against students using technology in the classroom. Typical. It's 2015, people. America has been sold out on the concept of the online world for over a decade. Just get with the program. Still preaching that message. It's 2018. When are we just gonna start being cool with tech? Why did somebody have to make a movie about the machines taking over? Stupid. Anyway, if I whatever. Corduroy's biggest gripe with public policy was the notion that Congress handled all the public policy in the United States. He said public policy was a purposive course, purpo, purpose, purposive, I don't know, course of action or inaction, followed by an actor or a set of actors. I didn't quite understand why Matt Damon and the rest of the fags at the Film Actors Guild had to get involved. Matt Damon. Oh. Public policy is static, or public policy can change rapidly because it is goal oriented. He sputtered. These were common utterances from the man's verbal teat. Ditties. At this point in history, we are in a fossil fuel boom. Gas has gone down from over $4 a gallon to about $2. Corduroy believed it came from fracking. Fracking, besides having the coolest name ever, is when big machines punch the ground, like Wreck-It Ralph, and then they suck up any oil they can find like a vacuum. That's awesome, man. You're fucking brilliant, man. Oh, oh. There was a cute brunette sitting next to me. I saw an open seat and should have said something to her. At the very least, I could sit next to the damn girl. But again, I choke. Ugh. She was dressed in typical Midwest fashion: Ugg boots, Ugg looking boots, probably knockoffs, yoga pants, and fuzzy brimmed sweater, probably of some North Face fashion. Her best feature to me was this pair of studs she had right above the crevice of her left upper lip. I remember those. I wanted to nibble on those studs for hours. Yes, I did. I spent the rest of class daydreaming about it. There wasn't much going on in that, so let's do one more. I used to work at a rental car place, and apparently I wrote during that too. January is. Did I skip a day? Did I go back a day in time? Oh, that's 13. Okay, cool. January 14, 2015. At work, a car rental service station. Today is a day I will probably never forget. Things started in typical fashion. I woke up, warmed my icicle of a car, smoked a fat bowl, and drove to work. At 8:15 in the morning, my father sent me a text letting me know his position at Coca-Cola had been terminated. Oh. Wait, no, he said his position had been eliminated, I think. They offered him a pretty nice severance package. I suddenly wanted to drink a Pepsi. I did, I do. Here. Pepsi. I mean, my dad is 55, white, with the job title Global Operational Excellence Director, Asia Pacific Region. I don't know much about what my dad does, but that sounds like a pretty specific job title, and I doubt it's going to be easy to find a new job anytime soon. So true. We've dealt with this before. My dad dealt with the constant departure of manufacturing plants relocating to China or Mexico firsthand in the early 2000s. My coworker told me that I was just too high, but personally, I felt like God made his presence known in that moment. I had what I thought was an epiphany. I did. Remember this. Down the road from where I worked, there was a sports bar that had recently shut down. What I had heard was that the former owner was caught embezzling, fondling a minor, or something wicked, and he was in jail, as he should have been. The state initially took over the bar, but after a while they just closed the place up. I told my dad he should use his severance to invest in starting a sports bar. My dad's initial response was exactly what I expected. Son, I wouldn't know the first thing about opening up a restaurant. Still can't tell what tense I'm in, 26, and I had worked in customer service for 10 years now. I also had plenty of experience in the restaurant business. I had a soft spot for small business restaurants. I worked at a locally owned Mexican bar called Pappy's and vividly remember showing up to work one day to a for sale sign. I remember that very well. They turned the building into some stupid chain that I swore I would never mention or ever walk into. Whatever happened to mom and pop shops? It ended up being a Grand Traverse Bay City Pie Company, and I delivered a pizza there, so I have been inside of it. It was stupid. Um, this doesn't taste right. Why doesn't that taste right? Doesn't taste good at all. I need to start locking my car. Stupid job. Modern Arts and Ideas class. Unfortunately, school doesn't stop for epiphanies. We were watching a French documentary on Leonardo da Vinci. All I really remember from it was that he was left handed, like Dr. Strahan and his little slave boy Alex. Oh! I also remembered that Da Vinci had homosexual tendencies, fancied himself as a mathematician, an artist, a militant engineer, a scientist, and the first ever coroner. Despite these claims, Da Vinci is known to have the belief that he was an uneducated man. I feel you there. I don't know if that's humility or narcissism. I feel you there. Dr. Strand finally let Slave Boy sit down during the class. I felt bad for him on his first day. I did. No teacher should force his TA to stand at attention for the entirety of his lectures. After a while, I resorted to daydreaming about my options for the new bar. Russian, Central Asian politics. Once I got to Bumblebut's. That feels so bad. Once I got to Bumblebut's Russian class, I had a decent framework for the restaurant. It was going to be a sports bar, Michigan sports themed. Burgers, fries, wings. In order to differentiate ourselves from other bars in town, we were going to have a couple signature menu items. I also wanted some fun appetizers that weren't typically at sports bars, like, like, why don't they have pizza rolls or bagel bites or hot pockets as apps? Most importantly, our restaurant would not allow any apparel that sports any teams from the state of Ohio. I wish there was a way that I can make this YouTube video not available in Ohio. If that's doable, then make that happen, Google. Anyways, my cute librarian friend sat kitty corner for me today. Damn. We didn't speak much. It was hard to socialize when mine was so distracted by my father's situation. He was my hero, you know? He grinded so hard during my adolescence, despite living in Michigan during the globalization of manufacturing. From 1999 to 2009, my father worked at 7 different manufacturing/slash construction companies located in either Michigan, Ohio, California, and even a short stint in Mexico. I remember my sophomore year of high school, I was running a cross country race, and my mom put my dad on speakerphone so he could cheer for me while I ran by. Oh, he's such a good dad. He wanted to be there, and know he did. Bumblebutt rambled on and on about Karl Marx today. I found it interesting that the man that is well, I found it interesting that the man is known as one of, if not the greatest Russian philosophers or greatest influences on Russian philosophy, yet he never once lived in Russia. He spent some time in France and England. What I did appreciate from Marx was the observation that humans create and animals survive. Big difference. It is a big difference. And I agree with Marx that creating is the purpose of humanity. Having grown up in a Christian home, I was taught that we were made in God's likeness. So it only made sense to me that my desires and purpose revolved around continuous creation and creativity. Fully agree with that. Every day, all day, no problem. We are about creativity. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I wrote a book. That's why I made all these stupid Pokemon videos. I mean, some of them were really good though. After class, I had 45 minutes before my next class began. That's the urban politics class. I had hoped to have the librarian hang out with me, but she told me she was busy. Damn. I decided to go to the house I was currently living at to take a shower. The Adderall in my system, about 50 milligrams, made my armpits sweat buckets. So true. As I drove home, I contemplated whether or not Butterbutt was a closet communist. Once you pass the watershed that the status quo is no longer tolerated by the proletariat, it's over. They've got the numbers. He had mumbled emphatically to finish up his lecture. Oh, he did not have issues, but I mean, it's true though. The rise of the proletariat. Ooh, urban politics. I was a little late for my next class. I got high with my roommate Malloy. I was caught up watching the pilot episode of Entourage. I loved that show. I feel like it's a story of Mark Wahlberg's rise to fame. Is that a thing? Do people think that? I want to either have or be part of an entourage. If anyone is taking applications, I can email them my resume. I was I was so high for class I couldn't remember what the name of the class was. All I remembered was Katrina, Sandy, and Detroit riots. When I settled into my seat, I learned that we were talking about Martin Luther King Jr., and I immediately perked up some interest. MLK was my favorite growing up. When I was in grade school, all my book reports, my research projects, everything would be about him. I believed, still do, that he best epitomized the likeness of Jesus Christ better than any other historical figure to date. At the private school I went to as a kid, there used to be a fad involving bracelets with the inscription, "What would Jesus do?" The bracelets were there to remind you that whenever you're in question about a moral decision, what would Jesus do? To me, MLK would follow that motto. To me, MLK followed that motto more closely than anybody. Totally believe that. Still want to get a tattoo of MLK's portrait next to my Abe Lincoln tattoo. Old Hunchy. Oh, I loved him. Dr. Dave droned on and on and on about Detroit being founded in 1701. Detroit had mining and lumbering industries that started the blossoming of the city. Oh, guy, this is hard to read sometimes. Detroit also made a bunch of stoves back in the day. Now, Detroit is governed by the auto industry. He just rabbled and rabbled. Henry Ford came along and invented the perfection of the assembly line. Cars were number one and horse houses were number two. According to Hunchy, Ford created the middle class. Rabble, 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 rabble. 30 minutes into the class, I started daydreaming again. I could ask Danny, Brando, Tyler, Sarah, Oscar, Kay, and Malloy. Oh, and that cute waitress from Harvey's. She still works at Harvey's. She's lost a lot of weight. She plays Pokemon. Oh, she's still cute, though. I could ask them to be the first hires at my father's bar that he doesn't want to open up. My buddy Mike knew how to do web design. I could ask him for help. He never got back to me. Maybe the restaurant wasn't the best idea. At this point, Hanchi was reading word for word the textbook we were assigned to read for homework. No one was listening, except maybe the blind guy in the back corner. Oh, I remember this. Cocaine mad, jeez. Honestly, I couldn't tell if he was listening or not. His eyes were his eyes were open. I remember this, and he would just sway his head back and forth like he was listening to some Motown. A few of the students were shielding their headphones in their ears, like secret agents. A couple had laptops out and were probably Facebooking. I remember that blind guy. I wonder if he was paying attention or if he was just singing a song in his head and that's why he was doing that. I'll have to ask him if I ever see him again. After class, I planned on driving home and playing South Park, The Stick of Truth. Until my buddy Scoops, that's Schwab, came over and we got baked. He was the most charismatic of all my friends. I've known him since I was 8. Back in grade school and high school, he was the most popular guy and my best friend. I found out in college that throughout our childhood, he would talk shit about me behind my back. Well, I talk shit too, so why did I write this? We went a couple years without speaking. We did. He ended up having a beautiful daughter. He did. Oh. Once we both became grown ass men, which we weren't yet, we settled our differences. By this time, he was the best option for a friend to confide in when times were tough. And believe me, times were tough. While I was waiting for him to put his daughter to bed, I sat in the living room at the rental house I lived at. I was sitting in my dad's old lazy boy recliner. Legend has it the chair was purchased in 1983. Or was it 84? The original blue pleather exterior was replaced with black pleather at some point. That doesn't stop me from calling it the blue chair to my mom, just to annoy her. Two of my roommates were in the room as well. Dylan, a brute of a 24-year-old, yes, he was stretched out on the love seat with his feet stretched out over the armrest. He was playing games or watching videos or Snapchatting. The other roommate was Blazed. He was a scrappy guy from Detroit, a true scavenger. The dude was so smooth with the ladies. It seemed like every night he had a different girl sleep over. He claimed to be an aspiring photographer, agent, model, but I always thought he was in the porno business. At the time, I had no problem with that. Still have no problem with that. If anything, I was jealous. Yeah, I'm jealous. Blaze had a cute brunette over. Yes, he did. She had a bunch of tattoos. I wondered if her perfectly symmetrical tattoo on her middle finger had any deep rooting meaning to it. I remember that one. She had a stud on the idle crevice of her upper lip. Another woman with facial piercings. To fuck? I don't care. The fair skinned goddess showed me a YouTube video about fucking in the ass. It was a music video featuring two female singers. It was pretty hilarious. I mean, totally inappropriate, but it was still funny. I wonder if she was showing me this video to give me like a signal? Ah, why do I always think every woman wants to fuck me? That's a problem, Matt. We were watching the movie Ted in the living room. Technically, the movie was on for background noise. Blaze and Snow White were watching videos. Dylan was playing games still. I was desperately searching for solid ideas for that damn bar that probably wouldn't happen. Let's get real. The traditional living room, the one where everyone sat around the TV to watch the program together, that was over. It was so sad. You're such an idiot, man. Oh. Well, until January 15. I should have read this like on the day. Yeah, whatever.